One of my oldest and most popular videos is the quick explanation of the differences between socialism, communism, and fascism. It's also gotten a lot of criticism. I've learned a lot since 2012. Good lord, this is an old video. There are some good criticisms of the last version and some questions it didn't answer. This new version tries to take care of all of that, it still tastes great, and it's less filling. The goal here is to give people information and not start arguments, but I go where the evidence leads me. So I look forward to a spirited debate in the comments and hopefully not having to delete too many of them for being abusive. First, what's socialism? What socialism is, or should be, has been argued over since the 1800s. It's not possible to cover every single version, so let's stick with the general ideas and some of the best known versions to give you the basic flavor. Socialism wants less economic competition and fewer people getting rich in exchange for some sort of plan in society that makes sure everyone gets everything they need. The goal is to end the capitalist exploitation of workers and make everyone equal. If you think that sounds a little vague, you are correct. Socialism is half a criticism of what is capitalism and half a suggestion of what to do instead. The only thing all socialists agree on is that anything used to produce goods or services, the means of production, would be owned by all of society. Some socialists want to keep markets and let people sell their own labor. Some socialists want to get rid of profit altogether. Some socialists say that an economic plan by society will mean too much central power, so they want to decentralize everything and find a way to make important decisions as a group. Other socialists want democratic control of the economy the way democratic control of the government works. As you might imagine, not all of these systems have been tried in the real world, though some European countries today consider themselves democratic socialists. To give a real-world example from the same time period as the Nazis, communists, and fascists, we have the 1932 German Social Democratic Party's platform. They wanted to keep a republic, unlike the Nazis and the communists who wanted to replace it with different things, and they supported free speech, unlike the Nazis who wanted to attack communism. They also wanted to build public works to create jobs, to cut the size of government and reduce taxes, and had the rather unpopular view that Germany should pay all of its war debts. So that's socialism in a nutshell. What's communism? Basically, communism is an extreme version of socialism. It falls in the camp of socialism which says violent revolution is needed to get to peaceful equality eventually. Not just needed, but inevitable because capitalism sucks so much. As Marx says, all history is the history of class struggle. It also comes down on the side of needing a central power to reorganize things into a fair system, so more government versus the socialists who want to go straight to less. The Communist Manifesto says that the proletariat, the workers, will use its political supremacy to wrest, by degree, all capital from the bourgeois, meaning the rich, to centralize all instruments of production in the hands of the state. Marx also says that communist ends can be attained only by the forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions. Though, to be fair, he said that in the 1840s when things were pretty miserable for workers who often couldn't vote in their own country's elections, and only getting worse. As a result, communist revolutions and takeovers always come with a lot of violence, and every communist country has had a lot of internal repression. Communism is also, in theory at least, trying to completely eliminate markets and private sales of goods and services, rather than keeping them under some form of collective management. Though, most communist countries have had to back off from that at some point because they would run out of stuff, like food. The goal is the famous line, "From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs." That's the general picture of communism, though there are a lot of specific differences between different communist countries like China versus the Soviet Union. Most of those differences boil down to different approaches to creating communism or how much of a free market or democratic government to allow. Part of the reason not to say more is that they're kind of boring. Then there's the complaint that communism as set out by Marx has never actually been tried. Every communist state that's come into existence has argued that they're fulfilling communism in the real world. So you'll have to decide for yourself if the outcomes communism has gotten so far truly represent the idea or if there's some other way to do it that comes out differently. So that's communism. What's the difference between socialism and communism? Get used to hearing that something is argued about because I'll be saying that a lot. But no one exactly agrees on where socialism stops and communism starts. There are some differences, mostly about how much state control and aggressive action would be required. Also, socialists might still let people have some differences in property and status, while communists supposedly wanted to end all personal property and class differences. Though that never actually happened in any communist country. Marx seemed to think that socialism of some sort would happen after capitalism, and then communism would happen after that. Many socialists have criticized communist countries, saying that they just replaced capitalists with the government. Basically, historic socialism is like communism's hippie cousin. That's one reason it stayed more popular even after World War II and the Cold War, with people like Albert Einstein and more recently Bernie Sanders arguing for it, both of whom had crazy hair. Coincidence? Yes. Yes, it is.